Working Class Framer. I'm your co-host, Sway, here with my co-host, Mr. Cummings.
Mr.
And we're
Busted
here.
Mike today.
Okay, for all of our listeners who are tapping into the podcast, look, we're going to get into Suspiria, which we're both really excited about. But we want to let our audience know today we're going to be watching Hope. And I'm so fucking excited. We've been waiting for this movie since the buzz surrounding it came out of Cannes Film Festival. People saying it was terrible. Some people saying it was amazing. And they're talking about this is Bros Michael Bay, which I'm 100% in for. If you listen to our podcast, you haven't seen the trailer for Hope, go check it out. It's so fucking good. We're gonna go watch an early screening. We'll do a review. We'll post it up on our podcast for everybody to check it out. It's gonna be an exciting time. But today we're talking about Suspiria OG, Dario Argento's colorful, magnificent Suspiria from 1977. Luca Guadagnino's Suspiria from 2018. While doing research for this movie, I found a lot of people prefer Luca Guadagnino's over Dario Argento's 1977. In my opinion, masterpiece. But of course, we're gonna get into the weeds and all the good stuff about these movies. Let's start off with your feelings on Dario Argento's 1977 Suspiria. What are your positives watching this movie? What struck out to you this time? Because I know you've watched this movie before.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it like 1,000 times. This time, what I really appreciated, I think more so just because I have a better understanding of it now. I really love the pacing of it, and I think the editing is actually pretty flawless. And the way that movie just flows from the first frame to the last frame with no real sort of stopgap or sort of just like sluggishness is just beautiful. That movie flies.
It feels like water. I feel like I was watching like a river just like flow through with the pacing. I can't even tell you a time when scenes stop. I think there was like a fade to black moment, maybe like once or twice. But even then, it was just flowing. I never felt like I was watching a movie. I felt like I got transported into a world. And reason why I love that movie so much. And by the way, the 4K is on YouTube. If you are listening to our podcast right now, the 4K is available on YouTube to watch completely for free. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. They're both great. But yeah, the edit for Dario Argento's is flawless.
It's perfect. It's like every
score.
Yeah, well, the Goblin score is like, that's astronomical. That was literally forged in like the river of some other reality. Like, it's beautiful.
Dude, it's it really adds so much life to the movie itself. I think in many respects, the score is working as a character in the movie because it adds this layer of mystique. And what I noticed was there was these like gasps and choirs that were, wow, shh, like doing all this crazy shit in the score. Yeah.
It does that a lot, yeah. Well, I was going to say, I feel like a lot of the atmosphere and sort of like tone of the movie is kind of informed by that score. Where like, there's so many scenes I was watching where I was like, this score is kind of the glue because I just feel like a lot of the goals it's trying to pull off with both its scares and its visuals and its character acting kind of would fall apart if it didn't have that Goblin score kind of binding it all, you know?
I fully agree. And I think that it feels like magical. It makes the movie feel magical. There's definitely fear looming the corners, but it almost feels like a beautiful poison apple. That's what it feels like. This entire movie, you are drawn to the horrors in a beautiful way, knowing that there's danger lurking, knowing that shit is wrong, knowing that there's witches here. Yet you want to keep going. You want to keep finding out what is next, what is around the corner, what the fuck are they doing behind the walls? I want to know it all, and I just could not stop. I could not take my eyes off the screen. I absolutely loved it. But I think this is where we can talk about the differences in approaches, because there is a very distinct approach to Dario Argento's Suspiria and a very distinct and appropriate approach to Luca Guadagnino's Suspiria. And I wanted to know, how did you feel Luca Guadagnino's distinction in approaching Suspiria? Because there's some clear, distinct differences here, right?
I think it's, strangely enough, I think it's really the only way Luca could have gone with it in a way that felt fresh, because whereas Dario's is so light and almost fantastical, you know, phantasmagoric even. I feel like Luca's is so dim and really gritty and really ominous. And I feel like so much of what Lucas works for me specifically, and it's funny because it kind of works in both ways, but in two different sort of fashions where I think they're both very violent and mean spirited, kind of like it's like almost like a carnival. Like it almost feels just fantastical. There's colorful. She's fallen into razor wire, and
Yeah.
it looks like something out of a silent film, like German expressionism. Like half the movie, I feel like is ripped from like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, that kind of core. And then Lucas is like a really good punk album. Like it just feels really dark and rough around the edges. And I think about all the scenes too in like the school and like even the violence in Lucas feels way more blunt, it feels way more brash, and it just feels way more nihilistic. I think to me, it's really the only way he could have tackled this and really brought something to the table that didn't feel just kind of stripped from what Argento is doing.
Yeah, I totally agree. As you mentioned, to strip it is the best way to go about this route because if he would have even attempted in making new colors, right? It would have immediately the comparison would have started. We would have done the comparison games on colors and who did it better, yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we aim to talk about here on the podcast and why I believe a good remake is an attempt of doing something different, bringing a new story to life with
Mm-hmm.
an existing base. And here,
Mm-hmm.
Luca Guadagnino with his remake strips it of his color and brings us into a bleak, dark world that is
Very
post
dark.
World War II. Post World War II. And there's a lot of political expression, a lot of political activism, period, happening in the background of this movie that sort of shapes the narrative of this movie that I found to be excellent. I found it to be really, really well done. I truly do think that by taking out the color, he breathes a new
Mm-hmm.
life to Suspiria. And what stands out, because I
Mm-hmm.
think there is no color, but there is the color red. And that is the one color that stands out and is prominent throughout the entire film. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that the use of this blank space that is always there creates a very eerie atmosphere. And Luca's
Mm-hmm.
attempt here is to bring us into this world of bleak, of
Of corruption.
despair, of
Of
corruption.
abuse and
Yeah.
abuse. I mean, like well, and even to your point, like I think Argento, where he's more sort of interested in the overall exhilaration that the roller coaster provides. I think Luca is more about sitting back and really digging into the sort of dirt under the fingernails of this school and really understanding the machinations of how this sort of corrupt hierarchy works, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's even the flashbacks to her as a child, which I think play a really big role in how religion and fascism kind of bleed together. Even seeing the flashback to understanding Susie Banion's character as a child and how she was raised in a religious household with the little frames and the quotes of Bible verses on the walls, and then her getting an iron to the hand because she was masturbating, paint a much broader picture of the character and who she is as she grows up and wanting to
Mm-hmm.
rebel, wanting to sort of do something outside of the bounds of her religious household, which I found to be very interesting. Again, Luca's main objective here to me is to explore the lore, to expand on the lore and to sort of take it in a new direction that Suspiria, the original Suspiria, didn't do because they're doing completely different things.
I also think there's a specific thing with Lucas where I think he's very interested in how groups that supposedly represent people, the hierarchy of witches represents the dancers, the way the RAF represented West German leftist militantism, the actual West German government representing, capitalism, where
Yeah.
all these groups sort of have their language and their methodology for coercing people into following them, being the sort of false idol. As we get into that ending with the whole Mother Superiorum character, it seems like he has this interest in dissecting those hierarchies, but also the remedy to destroying them, because the whole ending of Suspiria 2018 to me is literally like the rapture. It's like you have
Mm.
the Mother Marcos who says she's Mother Superiorum, and then the real Mother Superiorum pulls up and she's like, no, you're all just evil, you're violent, you're manipulating old people and making them think their wives are alive, and she just kills them all. I think that's a very stark political statement of like how he feels about these systems and what he thinks should quite frankly be done to them, you know?
Right. And I mean, we'll touch more upon the ending as we go here because I think
Mhm.
there's a very beautiful ending to the remake that I feel like touches on the entire message that he's getting across with his political messaging, especially with leaders and false gods. The rise of fascism and how they need people who are spreading lies and have this
Mhm.
sense of superiority, and they convince people of their lies. And
Mhm.
they sort of need that vehicle of lies to gain power and to maintain
Mhm.
their power.
That whole angle of Mother Superiorum is only in the remake, because in the original, it's just Mother Marcos. He added this whole, like, internal civil conflict with the remake where you have Madame Blanc and you have Madame Marcos battling for the supremacy of it, but Mother Marcos has convinced people she's the real, like, one of the three mothers of the witch, I guess the witch witchery. I don't know what
Yeah,
you call it.
the coven,
And I think,
the coven.
yeah, yeah, the coven, yeah.
Yeah,
And I thought that was such an interesting angle. Whereas like Argento, which is fine, they're going for different things, but I think
right.
Argento's more of like, here is this sort of monster movie, and you're kind of just like tripping your way through this dream. Because that's how I feel was watching Suspiria in so many of those scenes. The way he edits that movie, and the way some rooms they'll go into another room and the lighting will be different. It almost feels like you're stumbling through a dream. And I think that quality to it this time around I really appreciated.
Yeah, I can't stress enough about the visuals. I mean, there's nothing new that I'm going to add here that has not been praised throughout the decades. The
It's
lighting
awesome.
is just it's just so jaw-dropping, and one of
Mhm.
the reasons why I said in a video, 5 minutes into the movie, I just stopped it because, like, I didn't feel, like, worthy of watching these scenes. It is so fantastic. It is so it is unbelievable the way that these
Yeah.
colors look, the way the framing looks, the set
The
designs,
blocking, yeah.
the blocking, the framing, and then you paired it
Mhm.
along with that goblin score. I mean, I was just dude, I was in a trance and I didn't want this movie to end. And I think like
Mhm.
there is something so wonderful about how Dario Argento crafted these rooms, these sets, these scenes, every scene changing into a new arena
Mhm.
of madness. It's intoxicating and I didn't want it to stop. I absolutely
Mhm.
adored the sets. I think the sets here are ungodly. Ungodly. It's just unbelievable. Comparing those sets
Oh,
to
yeah.
Luca Guadagnino's sets and the way that he was approaching the movie is where I kind of think I start to falter a little bit, but not necessarily because Lucas are bad. It's just a completely different approach, right? There's way more of
Mhm.
a minimalistic setting because they're just at a ballerina studio. The color is drawn out, so there is no need for emphasis on these grand sets and more so on building the lore. And where we're not too sure if Susie Bannion wants to be a part of this coven or wants to be a part of the cult, but we get a sense that she is. She wants to kind of give in. She wants to
Mhm.
do whatever witchcraft that they're up to, which is also a very interesting approach to this character as opposed to the original
Mhm.
Suspiria, which is constantly avoiding it and trying to not to get
Yeah.
killed.
Trying to subvert you, but I'd be like, "There's no witches here." Yeah.
Yeah,
Each film has such an interesting catalog of side characters. The original, there's like the blind piano player with the dog who eventually kills him. There's the
yeah.
ugly Romanian butler who has like the teeth. Each movie has such an interesting, diverse cast.
I think I prefer the side characters in the original to the remake.
I agree. They're way more
There's
memorable.
yeah, all the characters in the original are so memorable. I can't forget the
Yeah.
old lady and the little boy in the original, just because like
Yeah.
I remember seeing them. I'm like they felt so out of place and so creepy.
Shining the light. Yeah. Like,
Shining the light, that
yeah.
scene is, like, burned into my memory. Also, I found the blind pianist to be such a funny individual and also just so fucked up what happens to him on multiple
Yeah.
levels, even just, like, forcing the dog to commit violence and then
Yeah.
manipulating the dog to eat him is so fucked up.
Dude, and then you know what scene's really fucked up to me that it's always lived in my head as my favorite scene, but every time I watch it, I'm reminded how brazenly just kind of cruel and vicious it is. Scene where she climbs through the little window opening and you think she sees the door and you're like, oh, and they do a fake out and she falls into the pit of razor wire,
Yeah.
like barbed wire. And that scream she gives in that pit is just guttural. Like I always hear that scream in my head.
straight out of a Saw movie, specifically Saw
Yeah.
2, with the syringes. And I'm wondering
Yeah.
if Saw 2 was inspired by Suspiria's scene, because
Probably.
jumping into the pit of barbed wire is just so it's simple, but it's brutal because everyone
Mm.
has a clear understanding of what barbed wire is, has seen barbed wire.
Mhm.
I mean, even growing up, I remember thinking, like, how can I get over barbed wire? Like, how would that work?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever thought
Mhm.
about that.
Dude,
Um,
no, I climbed over and got my
oh,
pants torn off, like,
oh, fuck.
so I was in my underwear, like, I had to run home, like, I was just in a shirt, my
What were
backpack,
you
and
doing? What were you
underwear.
doing getting over barbed wire? What was you doing?
Okay, you wanna hear the story?
Yes, yes, I want to hear the
Okay.
story.
So me and a couple buddies lit off some fireworks, and it low key like just immediately put a bush on fire. So we went under this tunnel that goes under this neighborhood,
Is this
and
during
we
4th of
came
July?
out. No, this was just like we were just
You guys are
shooting
just
like
shooting.
yeah, we were just shooting fireworks at each other, and
Yeah.
we were in a concrete tunnel, so it was fine, right? But my dumbass friend at the time runs out of the tunnel chasing my homie with it, shooting at the bushes with it, and one lit on fire. Luckily, nothing happened, obviously,
Okay. Okay.
but we crawled. Yeah, no worries, no one got hurt. It was fine. But we crawled under this little industrial area under a neighborhood, and we got out, and we had to get over this fence. And as I get over, the barbed wire just grabs my shorts and just tears them right off, like as I'm landing. So I literally like it was like a cartoon. I was like, ah, and then like it just and I'm in my backpack, my shirt, and just underwear and shoes. And luckily my house was in that neighborhood. So you
Okay.
just see me bolting in my underwear to get home.
Oh, that's
That
so
was
good.
so bad.
That's
Yeah.
so good. It's funny you mentioned this because this is a comedic moment. One of my mutuals on Twitter have pointed out how this framing of this scene and the way that they shoot it feels almost like a Buster Keaton bit, where the camera
Mm.
intentionally doesn't show us the barbed wire and she falls down into it, later
Mhm.
revealing the barbed wire, which I found
Yeah,
that to
well,
be very interesting,
yeah.
And of course, like the whole conversation about comedic beats and like horror
Mhm.
beats running around,
Yeah.
running very similar.
Well, and also I think it lends to the dreamlike quality where you know how like in dreams the logic is very fluid. So the
Yeah,
way it sort of looks normal and then she just falls in a pit. And that's kind of goes for the whole movie. I mean, the maggot ceiling,
right.
when she finds the secret doorway and there's like that golden hallway with all the text on the wall. Like it doesn't feel real. It feels like you're just like blending into this endless seam of colors, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I
And
mean,
even the
and
blocking, like it flows, whereas Luca's feels so harsh in its symmetry because of that brutalist architecture, you know?
yeah, I mean, it's very reminiscent of a post World War II world, and
Yeah.
I was this goes back now to the ending in these side characters in Suspiria 2018, where the
Hmm.
doctor is a victim of war. Just another casual civilian who just had to endure pain and suffering brought upon by the leaders of his country at the time, and how he lost his wife to the war and he was never sure what had happened to his wife, and then having to endure or sit with that pain for so long, and then have to go through another traumatic incident where they first of all they fuck with him, they bring his literal lover, like,
Wife
back in
back.
a, yeah, wife in a
Yeah.
vision, to lure him into the coven and
Yeah.
strip him naked and force him to watch everything that went down is just a different layer of hell that I don't even think I could ever fathom. I think that would be it for me. Like,
Hmm.
I think I'd
No.
want to end it all after that. Uh
Also leads into one of the best jump scares in the movie where like they have him obviously through persuasion he's like guided to the school, and right when he gets there she disappears, and the first thing you see is this hard edit where the witch is like ah! And she's like comes at him, and then they drag him and beat him in this cave, and I was like what an awful way to treat this person. Like
it's just
it's
truly
cruel.
terrible. But
Terrible.
I think this where it ties into the ending with the Mother Suspirium coming back to
Hmm.
him and tells him, we need guilt, but we don't need yours. and erases his memory of the incidents that had happened, and also grants him his wish of knowing what happened to his wife, which I found to be very beautiful. And
Yeah.
there's a writer by Chris Lambert that I shared the article with you, where he talks about how this movie is sort of making a statement on how our political leaders who end up causing these atrocities
Mhm.
never are the ones to feel the guilt or carry that guilt, and sometimes are not even
Mm.
fucking punished. They
No.
either die or they move on,
Mhm.
and it's a very, very sad reality to a lot of leaders who have caused so much pain, so much suffering. They themselves will never feel that guilt. I mean, it takes a tremendous
No.
amount of evil to be able to carry out some of the atrocities that these people do, that there is never going to be a sense of that, period.
I would also add that on top of that, they don't feel bad about what they do. There's sort of ability to gaslight you and sort of manipulate you into believing what they're doing is good. Because I think of all those scenes in 2018 where whenever there's some sort of miscommunication or distrust, basically Marcos, played by perfectly by Tilda Swinton, does this thing where she sort of becomes affable. She tries to present herself as, I'm a part of this womanhood with you, you know, I'm a part of this
Yeah,
coven. Like,
yeah,
and the sort of the lion presenting itself as the sheep.
yeah. I'm just like one of you. I'm just like one of you. I mean,
Mhm.
this is common fascist rhetoric, right? Hitler, Trump,
Yeah.
these leaders who proclaim themselves to be these understanding figures. Oh, I'm just like you. I'm just like you. Reaffirming all the fears that you have, especially when a country is in a desolate state, in a state of
Mhm.
economic imbalance. They come
Mhm.
in, they inject the fear of whatever marginalized group they want to sort of puppeteer to have you agree with their violent rhetoric and make you believe their lies.
Mhm.
And offer themselves as a god figure, right? They proclaim themselves to carry this knowledge and their savior, and
Mhm.
I'm just like you and I'm going to save you. And then of course they don't.
Mhm.
They carry a drastic amount of violence that ends up affecting everyone.
It's that balance of security where what do people want to feel? They want to feel secure. And how many of the witches even, don't even necessarily agree with what's happening. There's those scenes at the table where they're all discussing and they're like, "Yeah, I don't like that," or "I think maybe this is the path we should take." But how when it comes time to fall in line, the system falls in line. They don't debate, they don't push back, they do exactly what they're told. I sort of take a lot of this system being presented, especially with like how it treats Mia Goth and that horrible scene with the dance and the leg, and how fascist systems may seem like there's a diversity of thought or discussion under it, but when it comes time, it licks the boot. It doesn't
Yeah.
fight back. You know what I mean? And everybody falls in line.
I mean, and then you have the one witch who I'm not sure if she was a witch or she's just part of the coven, when she literally
Mhm.
kills herself, and she has like a moment of desperation when she feels like something is wrong. She knows something is wrong, and she just
Yeah.
takes her life right in front of them.
Oh, yeah, it's such a graphic scene too. I
Yeah,
forgot about that. When we were watching that, I forgot that happened. I literally looked up and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like that, I forgot she stabs herself in the neck.
it's unbelievable. I would love to talk about that final scene too, and just how
So metal.
it's unbelievable. I was really wired in. I thought it was pretty great, and then the final scene happens, and I was like, "Damn, this is
That
fucking
visual,
fantastic."
that visual of
Is
her
it?
pulling open her chest is so awesome.
It's just it's so interesting the way that Luca Guadagnino ends up shooting this scene too. It is a slowed
With the
frame
frame rate,
rate, slowing
yeah,
down, and all these
and the
women
red.
screaming, and the red and the blood, and the reveal that she is Mother Superiorum was
Mhm.
a very interesting reveal to me. I don't know how you felt about it. What did you think about the reveal? Because I was left kind of puzzled in the moment that it happened,
Yeah.
and the more that I've sat with it, the more that I've enjoyed this reveal. What did you think, and what did you take away? Because this is your second time, or whatever
Mhm.
time rewatching this movie.
I think it works overall. I think maybe like the way it kind of just like plopped this information right on you. And I don't know how much I think the delivery necessarily works, but I think the reveal and the unleashing of Mother Suspiriorum's power is so cool that, like, I kind of don't care if it doesn't make 100% sense. Especially, like, because I just think it's such a artistically experimental, but also like boundary pushing scene to just plop into an Amazon produced Suspiria sequel. And I think it's emblematic of like the violence in the film and what it's sort of trying to say about, you know, regime change, how regimes hurt each other, and the sort of sarcophagus it builds where you're just in this red room with this cabal and it's bloodshed. That's what it ultimately boils down to. It's awesome. And I gotta say this too before we forget, that Tom York score, I don't think it necessarily surpasses the Goblin score. I can't say that. But he
Mm.
does a really damn fine job of making a new score for Suspiria. I gotta give him credit. It really works.
Yeah, I don't know if it surpasses the original Suspiria, but it
Yeah,
is
I
good.
can't say
It
that.
is really, really good. I think again, this is again to the strengths of both of these films. I think we have our first duo on the OG versus remake series where we have a true contender for a really good remake and a really good original, both that
Mm-hmm.
stand on their own two legs, presenting original ideas, taking the story and making something new. And to compare them is useless. And that's where we want to get to with remakes. There's no need to compare these movies. They stand on their own, they present new
Mm-hmm.
ideas, and there's a new vision being offered. And I think Luca Guadagnino really nails it on the head here. Even if some strings aren't
Mm-hmm.
fully like connected in this film, I think that for the most part, this is a fantastic, fantastic remake. And I don't even want to call it a remake. I think this is a fantastic interpretation of
Mm-hmm.
Suspiria through Luca
I agree.
Guadagnino's eyes that really makes this movie stand as its own movie. And I'm so happy that I could watch Suspiria, Dario Argento's Suspiria, and love it for its own reasons. And I can watch
Mm-hmm.
Luca Guadagnino's and take my own experiences away from it. And I think they both are
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. And I honestly, I'm so glad that we have a true great OG and a true great remake.
I think this is one of the only times, because I actually thought about this. I went really back and forth on which one I liked more, because like I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh, I like Suspiria 77 more. And then I woke up the next day and I was like, wait, I kind of like the 2018 a little more. And I think ultimately, you'll be shocked, I think I like 2018 a little more.
Okay.
Um, but it's not due to anything Suspiria 77 didn't or did do.
Yeah.
I just think there's an itch Suspiria 2018 scratches. I just think it's a little more interesting because, and also I think Suspiria 2018 has the harder job because it can't do the Argento thing. Even if Luca Guadagnino's, I think, doesn't land 100% in the way I think 77 does, I think the choices are so bold and unique to me that I think it kind of overpowers any sort of nagging criticism I could have.
I love both movies. I think choosing between these is a pointless game, you know? And
Yeah.
I think ultimately people are going to like either of these movies for different reasons according to their taste, which is why I would prefer to watch the 1977 Suspiria over the 2018. But that is not to say that one
Hmm.
is better than the other. I think again they're both accomplishing different things, and I am in love with world building. I'm in love with the colors. I'm in love with the score. I'm in love with the dreamlike wonder that the 1977 Suspiria movie has to offer. But in the same
Hmm.
vein, I love the ideas that are being presented in 2018's Luca Guadagnino's Suspiria and his approach to doing a dreamlike wonder climax in his
Hmm.
own
Yeah.
maddening, blood-soaked way that really brings it all together for me. And there is still so much lore, so much political conversation that the 2018 Suspiria movie has to offer that I really, really loved. And I really loved researching and learning about the political conflicts that were happening in Germany post World War II and
Hmm.
how it was divided into four sanctions and different
Hmm.
countries control different parts of it. There's so much to unravel politically with 2018 Suspiria and the performances and the music that I think that, again, both of these movies stand to their own strengths. And I think ultimately choosing between these two is going to come down to your own personal taste. I personally have 1977 above, or at least I would watch that one more than 2018's. But I love both of
Fair.
these movies, and I really enjoy both of these movies.
Yeah, and like it's kind of funny because I think it also speaks to the fluidity of taste. Where even though I say I prefer 2018 slightly more, it's literally like neck and neck because it's one of those instances where I'll literally wake up and just be like, today I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking of the ethereal melancholy of Argento's film, or I'm thinking of the gritty, harsh, reactionary nature within Suspiria 2018, especially because, you brought up the politics. I think it's interesting they brought up the Bader Meinhof gang, which is, I think I'm saying that correctly. Sorry to our German fans. But the sort of context of this far left militancy and what they were doing in the 70s with their series of like violence versus the state, which ultimately put them all in jail. And there was a suicide that happened. I think it's such an interesting platform to put your horror film in because I think 90% of it's going to fly over everybody's head. But also, I think it's one of those movies that you can see the surface level, and there's such a rich underlying historical discussion to be had that you can endlessly sort of dive into that iceberg.
There's so much rich subtext to 2018 Suspiria that I think that's why the more that I've sat with this after we watched it, the more that I've enjoyed it. And again, I can't say one is superior to the other. They both have their own strengths, and I loved both, actually. I loved both in their own respective ways. And I'm really happy we got to these movies because I think this is one of the better OG versus remakes that we've done. And I'm really excited because now we've got another one. We've got The Grudge versus The Grudge, which is also another contender. One that also has a lot of fans for the remake, which I'm really curious. But now the only problem is that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 also has a lot of fans. So that's why I'm a little bit worried. But we're going to see. Either way, Suspiria, Dario Argento, Suspiria, Luca Guadagnino, fantastic original versus remake.
Beautiful films.
I can't wait, guys. We are going to be covering The Grudge on the next episode, so make sure you guys watch the original versus the remake. What is the original? When was the original Grudge released? Do you remember?
2003. And then the literal next year, the remake came out.
Holy shit. So literally a year later.
And you know what's crazy, though? Oh, we forgot another detail to our audience. Sorry, not to interrupt you, Josue.
No,
both versions are directed by the same guy.
Whoa. The Grudge?
Yes. The original Takashi Shimizu. Yeah, he directed the original and the remake.
Holy shit. Okay, that's going to be very interesting. Okay, so there is a 2019 one, but we're not doing that one. We're not doing that one.
Bone. I can give you the review right now. Ass. That's the review. Yeah.
No. We got The Grudge and The Grudge. I'm so excited to check these movies out.
Oh,
it's gonna be such a fantastic episode, and we're gonna dive into that, guys. We've got that, and we're working on Horror Extravaganza, the sequel. We're gonna unveil everything. It's gonna be a beautiful run, but I'm excited. We're gonna do an episode with me live from Toronto. We'll talk about that more, and we'll get that set up. The live TIFF updates. Film
in the theater too while you're in the screening.
Bro, I'm going to live screen The Devils on my laptop while I'm in that.
We're going to watch it live here.
Yeah. Listen, I'm Josue Arellano. This is Working Class Frame OG versus Remake Suspiria. I'm Josue Arellano with my co-host,
Austin.
Thank y'all for tuning in, guys. We'll catch y'all in the next episode. Peace.
Working Class Frame